Now, obviously, I was always destined to be a weeb, right? Even when I was a kid, I didn't just watch the popular stuff that people didn't even know was anime, like Dragon Ball Z or Pokemon or things like that, right? I was always the weirdo that was also into Bakugan and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon. Even the cartoons I watched, Teen Titans or Ben 10, I was always destined to be a weeb, let's be real. But my dad certainly helped in this case because even when we were little and should absolutely not be watching that, he used to invite me to watch anime with him. Watching anime was family thing. Obviously, we watch normal shows too, like Naruto or Bleach together, right? But he would even call me to watch some of the more adult stuff that he liked, Tenju Tenji, which caused a lot of trauma. I still have a vivid memory of him calling me to watch that anime right during a fight scene where a dude's hands get ripped right off their socket. And that left me sleepless for days. So I thanks that. But not just with encouraging me to watch anime in general, but in other ways too. So, for example, it was from my dad that I got my preference for playing female characters. Because when I used to have troubles with fighting games, for example, like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, he would always tell me the tactic that he used. He would say, oh no, male characters are generally focused on power in these games, on hitting hard, but but being very slow, while female characters are generally faster, so I like to play with them. Now, obviously, especially recently, that isn't the case anymore due to gender equality and all that, but at the time, this used to be a pretty good advice, and I would always be the idea would genuinely be very off-putting to me. I would try to go to alternatives, try to be like, oh no, can't I do this instead? Because obviously I was a kid, so at the time I was like, no, I don't want to play as the girl in the bikini. Ew, I want to play as the cool, muscular guy, right? But one day I stopped being a bitch and actually followed his advice and started playing as female characters in fighting games. And not only did I realize that, again, his advice was really good and that I actually did perform better with their style of gameplay, but I even realized at that point that, hey, who would have thought? Not only is their gameplay more appropriate for me, not only do I like playing as them more for those reasons, but I found out at that point with those games that I actually liked girls in quite the interesting way as well. That was quite the awakening for me. So genuinely this time, thanks Dad. Though this wasn't perfect, obviously, because one thing my dad always tried to get me into and I simply couldn't was an anime called Senseiya, which is very popular here in Brazil. And I don't think Senseiya is bad, far from it. Let's not go into the territory of blasphemy here. But I never found it as hype, as interesting as my dad did. It was a fun anime, but it wasn't something that I was too excited to watch without him, by myself. And so, obviously, my dad was. This is the point of that story, of me saying that in the first place, is to essentially show that he was a pretty important influence, but obviously, like I said before, that's just because of how much I was already predisposed. I was already going to be a weeb anyway, but my dad certainly gave me that final push with his encouragement that actually sent me down that path. Again, it wasn't like all him, and sometimes, again, I wouldn't be into the things he recommended me or the things he was into. So it wasn't all him, it wasn't all perfect. But he certainly was a pretty big push that sent me in this direction. So for the final time, and also for real, thanks Dad. But with that little story out the way, I think this will be it for this video. And that will be it for today. If you liked this video, then please remember to, of course, like, comment and subscribe, as this really helps me out even more than you think. If you really liked it though, then I'd also really appreciate if you could support me financially, either through a one-time paid comment donation or by joining my membership, where for $1 a month, you get to participate in exclusive polls in order to decide which videos I'll make next, as well as get access to a couple of exclusive videos and, best of all, even get your name added to this incredibly fancy list of awesome people right here. But of course, no matter how much you choose to donate, if you choose to do so at all, do know that I deeply appreciate any cent you're willing to throw my way, as well as just the fact that you're watching this video up to this point at all. But with that, I think it's about time to, as always, bid you guys farewell. Obscure Anime out.